Phil Jackson as a baby. Look at old Phil. Phil was such a baby. It shocked people. He looked like Phil Jackson, the coach, right there on the picture. Same expression. Same dude. Phil Jackson's father was definitely loved. PCP. That's right. That boy was doing angel dust like it was something spiritual. Phil Jackson was a good old time boy. He loved to play basketball, but he also loved to hang out with his friends and do a PCP. PCP was his thing. Dropping acid. Getting high. Getting blazed. They was like, what is Phil Jackson doing today? Getting blazed. He loved it. He had no plans on ever being a head coach in the NBA. Phil Jackson thought he would be an author. Phil Jackson has written about 3-4 books before he joined the Bulls. Phil Jackson was found on a beach, completely naked, like a lion, howling and growling at police when he was arrested. He was gone that much off the acid trip. He was a Woodstock guy. Him and his homeboy, they would hang out. They went to Woodstock and it blew their minds. And he was just a hippie for life. Phil Jackson had never worn a suit in his life as an adult. This is what Phil Jackson would dress like. Overalls, wild woodchuck beard. Look at him, riding a bike. That was Phil Jackson. That's like the Amish paradise guy. Now, his hippie crew grew tired of Phil because Phil became much more spirited and he loved to fight. And hippies didn't really fight. They were like, hey, man, what you doing, man? It's not the way, bro. So somebody told him, like, man, you know all these plays, you do all this, you study the play charts and you know what to do. You ever thought about coaching? He was in Puerto Rico to get high, but since he played in the NBA, they said, you know, maybe it'd be a good idea if you got into coaching. So Phil said, yeah, I'll try it. Okay, whatever this is, they didn't got it all jacked up. But he's like, yeah, I'll try it. So they said, okay, hippie man, come on down and try head coaching, but you gonna have to go to Puerto Rico. Because he was actually out in Puerto Rico. So he started coaching a bunch of different teams in Puerto Rico and realized that Puerto Rican basketball ain't the same as American basketball. And once he got out there, oh my goodness, Phil found out real quick. When people start team fighting and they got blades and they got everything on the court, so with a temper. That man was emotionally mad all the time. That was Phil. Now, when Phil got so frustrated, He wanted to leave and come to the NBA to coach. He tried to audition to be a coach for the Knicks. They didn't want him. In Puerto Rico, his fiery temper, that was perfect for the coaches. But the mob came in, had a guy killed. Over in Puerto Rico, they were paying the refs to rig the game. If it didn't go their way, somebody's gonna die. It was crazy like that in Puerto Rico. He could not play in that league, coach in that league. Somebody was gonna kill Phil Jackson, and he knew, because Phil wasn't gonna go along with losing and being embarrassed. There's different levels. Him a shot, and he came in dressed as a hippie again, not in the suit and tie that they showed him. They said, "Hippie, go back and put on a suit." So he auditioned for the job. He didn't get it. They decided to go in the direction of Doug Collins. Doug was way more schooled in the game and way more authoritative. He Phil had a lot of growing to do. And then they brought in Tex Winters. So when they brought in Doug Collins and Johnny Bach, they loved Doug. Uh-oh. Are y'all noticing something crazy on the screen? Tex Winters was a genius, period. So the smartest thing Jerry Krauss ever did was hire this man and put him on as the head coach. As you could see, Doug loved Tex Winters and Tex plays, and Johnny Bach was the defensive coach. He was the defensive mind. Now, this was the team. They brought Phil Jackson and added Phil to this team. What Phil decided to do was something very unprecedented. Phil decided it would be in his best interest to come along and run the plays the way he wanted to, but his greatest asset was manipulation. Phil would be in the back and watch Doug. He'd watch how Doug coached, and what he would do is go and undermine what Doug wanted to do. Doug was Jordan's guy. But Doug and Phil both understood the game. Phil had these artistical plays that really belonged to Tex Winter. They were Tex plays. And he wanted to see more of Tex plays, and we get more ball movement and going into the guys. And he's like, okay, we move the ball around, and we're going to end up with the wrong person shooting the ball with 3 on the clock. And that's what Doug's problem was. Doug's problem with the plays that they were talking about, even when Tex was designing them on the sideline, coming up with all these plays, he would say, look, the problem I have with this situation is clear. My problem is Tex Winters plays being inserted last second of the shot clock. I don't need Scottie Pippen trying to shoot an 18-foot jump shot. That's not where I think I need the ball to be. Anytime it's the last of the shot clock, the person that should be shooting the ball is Michael Jordan. He's the only guy on the team I trust. So whatever play you want to run, long as it ends up in the hands of Michael Jordan at the end of that shot, I'm okay with. And that's Doug. So they would run Tex Winter's plays early in the game. And whatever plays are being successful, they would keep. But he knew Doug would be a head coach. Doug hates to talk about this because he always feel like what Phil did was stab him in the back, which was clearly what he did. He would go over to the other players and, don't worry, guys, I'm going to run practice, because Doug ran practice majority of the time, but sometimes he didn't run practice that day. Phil, Johnny Bach, and those guys would run practice, and Phil would be there, and Phil would just start putting his manipulation in and start buddying up to Tex Winter, so he can cross Doug out of the job. He wanted to get the support of Tex Winter by getting behind Tex's plays. Doug saw that. Phil, where Tex was older, right? And this basketball savant with his mind, the element of the coaches, the assistant coaches, are the ones that really implement it. And Phil was a textbook, let's watch film, let's go to the board type of guy. And while he's spending all this time with the players, as the assistant coach is doing, he's trying to manipulate them as, I could be your head coach. He's starting a mutiny within the organization so that this goes all the way up to the front office, to Jerry Krauss, that he might lose his assistant coaches. Tex Winter's plays are not being implemented. So they go to Doug and say, Doug, we want you to use more of Tex plays. And he's like, I've been using Tex plays. Why do I need more of Tex plays? We've already done more Tex plays. Not what he wanted. So that was the reason he told himself, hey, I failed. Oh man, they are messing this video all the way up. Yeah, they trying to sabotage the video, y'all. I don't know why, but they've been doing everything. So, to get to the gist of it, Phil ran a manipulation play. And while running this manipulational play, he used Tex Winter to get Tex on his side. Johnny was still a Doug guy, but he was aware of what Phil was doing. And he told Doug, and Doug was like, whatever. Phil ended up leaving, going to another team, and being a head coach. And he was okay with that. He thought that's what the Bulls was going to do, because Phil wanted to be a coach. So either he's going to sit behind me till he gets frustrated, but we're winning. We are winning. We are right here to getting to an NBA championship. We're knocking on the door of it. And right when they're getting ready to knock down the door, Jerry Krause pulls the plug on Doug and makes the change abruptly, because Doug's not going to change his coaching style at all. So Phil Jackson was inserted. He went and had a conversation with Mike, and he tried to explain it to Phil. Phil tried to explain it to Doug. I didn't do this, Doug. I know it's going to look like I stabbed you in the back for the job. He says, you wanted the job, you got it. Doug hated that they got him out of the way and went on to win those 6 championships. Even though he sat on TNT and called these games like a professional, Doug was disgusted with how it was handled. Still to this day. Still to this day, he does not even really want to discuss it. When they called him for the last dance, he wouldn't even elaborate because he doesn't want to go there. That's a very emotional string to pull. Now the team is upset. Like Jordan is thinking like, hey, we trying to get to a championship and beat Detroit, and we going with a new system. So it was learning curves for the new system in 1990. Trusting this whole format. Yeah, when you trust the format and you trust the way it's going, Mike had to get on board. Now, Phil was dressed up almost like he was, buying a suit at Burlington Coat Factory. He was all jacked up looking, wasn't so confident. He was just a rundown individual, right? Wasn't the same. So changes, began to come into play. They said, well, here's the deal. We feel Michael Jordan's not buying in. And Tex Winters and Michael Jordan start to have issues. Tex wants this ball to move. And in the game, they're losing to Cleveland. Like, they're getting beat. And Michael Jordan just goes off. Quite sure you've heard of the famous game where he scores 69 points in the game. They went to overtime. So once they scored the 69 points in the game, that's when things went to another level. Because after they scored the 69 points, after they scored the 69 points, that's when they went to another plateau. Tex Winters looks at Michael Jordan and goes, "There's no I in team." And Michael Jordan says, "But no, there's an I in win." So, and Michael saw individual success and game success of winning. Like, look, we got the win no matter how long it took. And what Tex Winters was trying to get Jordan to understand is that you could have won this game by 20 and not had to go and get in a dogfight with them if you just trust the system. So, by trusting the system, getting people to understand what it is that they wanted to accomplish with the new system in place, Phil Jackson went through a whole change. He went through a complete 180 and decided to flip things around to fit his narratives. So they had a team meeting. Phil's in charge of the meeting. He meets with Michael. He meets with them. And they try it his way. And it would happen to be a game they easily could win. So they experimented a lot of different sets. And Michael started to get it. His concern was Cartwright having the ball. So, anyway, we neither here nor there. Michael is coming up. They get to game 7. Phil Jackson is not being the coach he needs to be. For game 7 and game 5 of that series, Jordan was pissed. He was very ticked off. He felt that Phil didn't step up and coach the way he needed to coach that team down the stretch of the game. In game 5 in Detroit, and definitely game 7. He let the team fall apart. Now, we're going to put a pin in that because those 2 games end up being the staple of Phil Jackson's whole career. Phil Jackson's philosophy of we're going to let you figure it out on your own. Michael went to Phil when the series was over and said, Phil, you got to tell these guys, man, I'm tired of losing to Detroit. It was at halftime. They were down by at least 12 or 15 points. Jordan went in there yelling at the team, kicking over chairs, telling the team, don't quit. We can win this game. Don't quit. This was game 7. Screaming at the team, telling them not to quit. We could battle back. We can win this game. The rest of the Bulls players, Horace and Scotty, their heads are down. They're feeling defeated. So, as this event is happening, right, in real time, yeah, Scotty had a migraine. All of these things was going on. I guess Horace had one with him. They both shared the migraine. The migraine was the Detroit Pistons. We're a better team than they were. Better personnel. Everybody knew their assignments. They had no bench. They had nothing that they could deal with us. We were better than them. Jordan knew it. But mostly, they were losing to fear. Phil Jackson never really gave a speech at halftime. So Jordan moved Phil out of the way to do the halftime speech. Then, during the timeout, if you go back and watch the game, you will hear the announcer saying, Michael Jordan is having a players-only huddle. In the middle of the game, Michael Jordan is talking to the team in a players-only huddle. Phil is over there talking to the other coaches. Michael Jordan is leading the players in the huddle and telling them what's what, reminding them not to quit. That game 7 against Detroit almost broke Michael Jordan, and he threatened to retire. He said, I can't keep losing to Detroit. I can't keep losing to Detroit like this. And he's like, I'm thinking about retiring. This is right after game 7. Later on that night, they lost that afternoon. It was that night on CBS. Michael Jordan was a special contributor to CBS in Chicago at the time. He goes on the show and announced that he might retire. If I can't get by Detroit, what's the sense of me playing? I'll just retire. Michael Jordan is threatening to retire right when they're talking about negotiations, and this is leaving CBS, going to NBC next year. Jordan is threatening retirement. And they was, oh no, you're not. We'll get rid of Detroit for you, don't worry. We'll put them right on the platter for you and slide them on across. Meanwhile, when I said put a pin in Game 5 and Game 7, going into the 1991 season, Jordan was in a whole different animal. Entirely different. He was not going to lose again in this playoffs to Detroit. He told them, no excuses. And they started off rough that year. They were like 1-3 before they started to click, and they won so many games in a row. Like they went on a 14-game winning streak. But the Pistons were ahead of them. They started off hot, and they blew the Bulls out by 24 points. And again, Michael Jordan grabs Phil by his shirts. He was, Phil, I understand your philosophy, but if these motherfuckers on this court don't see, we gotta play aggressive, Phil. We can't be laid back and passive. And if you scared to coach, or if you gonna be passive, they gonna be passive. And then I gotta deal with that on the court. I don't wanna see you coach like this ever again. Phil was laid back. So now, because of that, Phil went out there, thought about it, meditated on it. Then he came back with, you right, I was too laid back. And once they saw Phil get like the old Phil Jackson, all fired up, waving his fist, complaining, he was thinking more like an assistant coach than a head coach. And he apologized to the team. He said, I was more like an assistant coach last year. That's my fault. I was coaching y'all like I was an assistant coach. That's on me. He said, I coached y'all like I was an assistant. That's on me. And that's not going to happen again. Now, he's talking to the refs. He's getting in the ref's face. Phil's yelling more. He's being more assertive. He's making his presence known on the court to the referees and everybody else that, hey, I'm a coach. I'm a head coach. And I want the same respect you giving Pat over there. Pat Riley come over, you know, all of them. Hey, how's the kids? How they doing? Huh? What's going on? Huh? Is that boy still being bad in school? You know, every ref, he knows everybody. He's got on the suits. Feels like, man, look at this guy. He got on a $25,000 watch, hair slicked back. He got style. Look at Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly got on a suit cost more than my apartment. And he got style. They call him Daddy Rich. So Phil, they let him know, Phil, this is a mind game. You're going to have to step your game up. You're on national TV. The world is seeing you. And this is how you're going to present yourself? In this Brooks Brothers suit with suspenders? You're going to have to step it up. You're the face of the Chicago Bulls. And they won the first championship. That was it. Next season, they said, look, Phil, don't go against it. This is your stylist. We got to style you up. You're like the professor of this team. So they want you to be the guy that keeps them all in line. The professor. Oh, they used to call him, before he was the Zen master, he was called the professor. Phil Jackson looks like a guy who should be teaching at Oxford. So that's how they created this image. Phil didn't argue with it because it got him all this press. It was getting him on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The Bulls about to go for the second championship. They storming through the season. Everybody wants to interview Phil. So Phil started to open up to his life and how he blows on a horn that he learned from some Indians and when he was a hippie. Then he starts telling them about his culture. And then now, instead of the professor, he's now the Zen master. So Phil started getting drunk off this success. So what Phil starts doing is Phil goes on this whole campaign. And when Phil goes on this campaign, what he would do is Phil would go on the campaign trail, come back and say, you know what? Here's what I think. Phil was good for his here's what I think. Phil started making different changes, approach, letting more media coverage come in. He knows the media in Chicago. Gives some of them access that he wouldn't give others. Because they're now speaking to him more than they're speaking to the players. And slowly, there's no attention to Tex winners. It's all Phil Jackson and the triangle offense, which created by Tex. And Tex didn't really care. But it's like he's taking credit for Tex winners' plays. Now, Fields became and started to get more confident as this Zen master and him doing yoga. He's telling people about his life, his ranch, showed his wife and kids on one episode. But the wife was like, yes, all the success, the new Phil, is becoming harder to deal with. And she didn't know how hard. Phil was looked at with all these women liking Phil Jackson. So they win 3 championships in a row. Phil's Bulls are thriving. Phil is seeing this lady who worked with Jerry Krauss's, I think his wife's friends or whatever, knew them. Then the Reinsdorf lady. Phil was kind of having an off and on, don't know if they were sleeping together, but they were having a cocktail at like one of these old private cocktail lounges. And he's talking about books and philosophy and how Phil is. So then all of that changed and Krauss is over. And once it changes and Krauss is over, it turns into something else entirely. Phil's in a full-on affair on his wife. 4th championship go by when Michael comes back. Phil and his wife are going through therapy. Phil has become uncontrollable. His arrogance, his ego, through the roof. He's trying to now go to get more control. As he told Jordan, look, I can get control of this thing if I get Jerry Krauss out of here. And Mike's like, yeah, we need Krauss out of here because I want to bring my friends on the team and I can't. So the guy who hired him, who brought him on the team, Phil Jackson, is trying to find a way to do the same thing he did with Doug. He's going to manipulate all the players, like Scotty, all of them. They don't like Jerry Krauss. They're going to blame Jerry, put Jerry on their shoulders, right? I mean, put Phil on their shoulders, and they're going to all team up to go up against Jerry Krauss. Now he's got Michael on board. I'm like, he's got Michael on board. He's got Scotty on board. This is it. This is it. So they're starting a mutiny. Now remember, they're winning championships. They had just won their 4th championship. And Phil wants to be the general manager and replace Jerry Krauss. He wants to run the Bulls. And everyone's upset that Jerry Krauss, who is the guy that they're trying to get him out of his job, is saying, hell no. I'm not gonna let you do my job. No. So Jerry Krauss is like, Phil, because he went to Jerry Reinsdorf, and Reinsdorf's like, I'm not getting rid of Krauss. Why would I get rid of him? We're the hottest thing in the world. He built this team. And I'm going to get rid of the guy that's built this team. Put the players on the team to win the championships. He brought you along. Reinsdorf's like, I wouldn't have saw you and hired you if it wasn't for Jerry Krauss. And I appreciate that. I'm just thinking it's time. We got to make new moves for the future. And everyone got these ideas that we can keep this thing rolling. I just don't know if I could do that and keep all the players in line if Jerry is still the general manager. And I think I'm more qualified, and the guys trust me as the general manager. And he says, you can't control the guys? Yeah. Then why are you the head coach? Why do we have you as the head coach if the guys don't trust you? Oh, they trust me. Oh, so you can control the guys. Okay. Well, just coach the team. And if Jerry down the road wants to retire, then we'll look at you as a candidate. So once Krauss found that out, that led to the infamous Phil Jackson will not be back as the head coach. I don't care if they win a championship or not. I don't care if they win the championship or don't. Phil Jackson will not be back. And that was after they won the 5th championship. Phil's arrogance is at an all-time high. He's messing around on his wife. Jerry Krauss knows it, knows he's disgusted. And he's mad that Jerry Krauss knows that he's cheating on his wife. He knows that Jerry would find that out. Jerry was like, they're not going to let a womanizing guy like you who's pretending to be this yin master rock around here, pretending to be something he's not. He's like, you're a low down, dirty skank. You got your wife and kids sitting at home, and you never even go home. Where are you living, Phil? Phil was mad as hell. Phil was mad about that. So after it was over, Phil goes back to Montana. Phil's talking about he's not gonna coach again. He's done. He did the last dance. Like, this is the last run of the Bulls. Jordan's like, Phil's not back, I'm out. And they were like, okay. Krauss was not okay with bringing him back. The owner said, well, let's see if we can run this thing one more time. Let me go see if I can go get everybody back in a room and we can talk. They get back in the room. They all sit down so they could talk. And as soon as they sit down to talk, as soon as they say, oh man, we're gonna sit down and talk, and they say Mike will come back if Phil comes back. And they were like, well, you're gonna have to find out what you're gonna do with Scottie Pippen, right? Scotty's unhappy. He hasn't been paid. So are you gonna pay all this money to Scottie Pippen? So Jerry Reinsdorf goes over to see Phil. Phil says, I'm not coming back. And he's like, what? It's like, I'm not coming back. That's just it. I'm done. I'm not coming back. So he's like, I'm just going to retire, sit this year out. I'm good. I'm done. So he's like, you already picked your replacement, Tim Floyd, a college coach coming in, playing for the lowest salary in the history of basketball for a head coach. And he was friends with Jerry Krauss. So Tim Floyd is the new Bulls coach. He's like, good luck trying to get those players to play for a new coach. So right away, Michael's gone. They said, Mike, we tried. Phil's not coming back. But we could make one more run if you decide. He's like, I'm done. Michael retires. Phil is gonna become this author of all these books that don't sell. But now he's got his ranch in Montana. No one can bother him. He's in his serenity space. Now, enter Jenny Buss. Phil and his wife are separated. His kids come and visit him every now and then. His wife wants nothing to do with him. Thinks he's just a disgusting human being. As Phil was sleeping with all these different ex-wives and stuff in the town and chasing young girls. It was crazy. All before he got with Jenny. Because he was drunk off the fame. He became more arrogant, hard to control. So when Dr. Buss said, I think the perfect guy to stop this Kobe and Shaq mess would be Phil Jackson, that opened a whole nother door. Their problem is Dale Harris had to deal with Dennis Rodman. Rodman should have came in with Phil, and it probably would have saved the team. And he could have won a championship probably a year earlier. But to solve the Kobe and Shaq problem. He had to earn their trust. And he was able to win over Shaq. Winning over Kobe was the hardest thing he ever had to do. Because through championships, Kobe never, ever really warmed up until the season was over and they won a championship. If he didn't win a championship that year, look out. So for the first 3 years, it was just hell dealing with Kobe until the championship. Once they win the championship, here's this nice guy. You wonder, where the hell's this guy been all season? Okay, maybe he'll lighten up. That wasn't with Kobe. Kobe thing was win. I got to win more than Mike. I want 8 NBA championships. That's what he told Phil. I want 8. Mike had 6. I don't want to have 1 more than Mike. I need to have 2 more than Mike. I want 8. So he wanted 8 championships. Remember, Kobe got 3 before he was even 23. So him thinking 8 was not far off. He wanted 8 NBA championships. So not the first season. The first season, Shaq was in the best shape Shaq has really been in. As far as skill, working out, Shaq wanted to win that year. It was after the first championship that he started to get laxed. Now, Jenny Buss didn't want Phil Jackson to be the head coach until she met him and slept with him. But she told her dad, because they had checked, because Dr. Buss wanted him on the team, and they asked people about how's Phil Jackson. And he was like, ugh. And then as Rodman was sleeping with her, she asked about Phil Jackson coming to coach the team. He was like, Phil be good, but Kobe and Shaq, I don't know if that'll be good for them. He's like, Phil is a guy you gotta, he's kind of a diva too. He's high maintenance. So Rodman told him, like, hey, it's a good idea, press wise. Phil knows how to talk to the media. The league loves him now, but he's really high maintenance. Drunk off the success. Hello. I'm all right. So he was pretty much high maintenance. Then he met with Jenny. They went out, had drinks, and that's all it takes for Jenny. And Phil went, and she looked at him like a father figure. Ended up being with him for like 17 years of her being with Phil Jackson. Her brother thought it was disgusting how Phil Jackson pretends to be this philosopher and old father figure, and he's the freaky old professor. They actually role played that. Hey, what's up? Start with. Like they still singing Frozen. Now, ladies, they're probably in 3rd and 4th grade. You talking about the ladies. These are children. He said, "Oh, my bad. Hey, sorry, you didn't know. It's my neighbor's kids. Don't ask me whose name is who, because I don't know." I feel bad I don't. No. The other neighbor, I don't think he likes me too much. So they got rid of Johnny Bach. I forgot they got rid of Bach. Halfway through their championship run, Johnny Bach was gone, and he went to work for Charlotte. They didn't renew his contract. They brought in the brother man, and the brother ended up being the defensive coach. And Phil took him when he took the Lakers job. Said, "I gotta have my own crew on the sideline." So they let him bring his own crew. Now, all of a sudden, everybody got something to say. That's what made it crazy. When before, nobody said a damn thing. But now, everybody and their mama got something to say. Sorry about that. All right. Hopefully it's fixed now. Now, Johnny Bach was out of the picture because he was still a Doug Collins guy. So they brought in the black guy. They brought the brother in. So once they brought, I think his name was Clemens. They brought in the black guy. Brought in brother man. Got him out of there. Oh, the neighbor's not kind of feeling me because he thinks I'm gonna sleep with his wife. I think he's giving me that kind of vibe of say hi and bye because I don't want you to get close to my wife. My kids like you, my wife like you, and I'll be at work a lot. So he give you one of those vibes, like you don't have a wife, you got these cars, you flying around here, you home all the time, my wife home all the time, the kids love you, and I don't want to see you on my couch when my wife laid up on you. So I get that vibe from him. So I fall back, because I'm thinking like, and sometimes I'll be thinking like, man, I probably can get this wife. If I was that type of guy. Cause I'm that type of guy. No. Now, getting back to this. So now Phil is in a whole different mind frame right now. So Phil Jackson's mind is entirely different than what everybody else might think. Phil Jackson's mind is thinking, hey, this is not ideal. We need to try this. We need to move in a different direction. We don't need, to be going through this. So trying to coach the Lakers up, he was working an uphill battle because the brother couldn't stand him. The fact that he was sleeping with his sister, he thought it was disgusting. Hated Phil Jackson. Even though Dr. Buss cared about winning championships and was like, we're winning championships with Phil from the moment he came through the door. But his problems that was coming was in line with one Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe's looking at him like, I don't like the fact Shaq is not in shape, and you know about Shaq and Kobe. So Phil is more in line with Shaq because he knows we need Shaq. But I can deal with Shaq. Shaq is coachable. Kobe is an uncontrollable force. He's young, he's brash, and he's never had to deal with this before. He's an upcoming superstar of the league. And I got to keep this guy contained because he wants to explode on the entire NBA. And this is Phil Jackson's first time dealing with a young superstar. Scottie was young, but very much, his mind was like a ball of clay. This guy has the confidence of a dragon. And he can't control it. And he's like, this is the first time Phil Jackson's going to have to use coaching power. All right, nobody was going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was going to do anything like that with coaching Kobe Bryant. You're coaching a fireball. Coaching Kobe Bryant is like coaching a gigantic fireball you hope just don't blow up. The guy is God gifted and was ready to explode. And Phil was trying to shackle his game to appease Shaq. And they got to 3 NBA championships playing that way. Now, what they didn't account on was the situation going in a different way. They didn't account for 90% of the excess garbage they had to deal with that came along with Phil Jackson, the Chicago Bulls, things of that nature. It was so much excess garbage going on. Phil was getting all these books and all this, so the team is ready to split up. Phil's like, okay, the team's ready to split up. I'm cool with it. We coached enough. We didn't win. We got 3 championships. We went back to the NBA Finals after losing, and guess what? I'm okay with it now. Phil Jackson won 6 NBA championships in a row as a head coach. Damn, now that's a hot mama. Whew. She got her 2 kids. Good Lord. I need to go park and get me a shopping cart and run into her. Oof. I'm sorry, ma'am. Do you know which aisle the meat is in? Pull me a Phil Jackson up in there. No, but Phil moved in a whole different way, man. And he's not the coach y'all thought he was. Craig Hodges joined the staff because he needed coach to run the triangle offense. Phil Jackson didn't want to bring Craig Hodges back into the NBA fold. That was the only way he could get Tex Winters to come back. Tex wasn't going to do it. So Tex is like, I'm not doing it. He was like, I'll do it if you bring Craig. Craig knows the triangle offense. He knows everything that we run. And I'm too old, but I'll be on the sideline, but I'm going to need Craig Hodges there. So he said, fine. So Craig was brought on as long as Tex was there. So Craig was in there implementing the triangle and telling him what's what. So Phil Jackson tried to spin it as if, look at Phil Jackson. He brought back Craig Hodges to the team. He didn't want Craig Hodges there. Tex Winters wanted him there. Phil is good for taking credit for other people's work. No. Most people know that there is a major difference when it comes to being successful and being a good manipulator like Phil is. Phil's a decent coach. He knows plays. That's not Phil's problem. Phil has no problem with putting his name on something and plagiarizing something. A guy who's supposed to be a teacher, a philosopher, he's out here running a manipulational play. Exactly, just like Jay-Z. He doesn't have a problem and don't see a problem with somebody taking the credit. He don't see a problem in none of this process. None at all. He see it as you don't really want the credit. I don't hear. all when you start to figure it all out, you piece the puzzle together, you start to come out with the results. The results are never gonna be what you think it's gonna be. Straight like that. Well, Craig Hodges, your cousin should tell you exactly what it was with Phil. Phil never got him on the team. Phil didn't want him on the team. Most people didn't even know he was on the Lakers coaching staff as an assistant. They didn't. Things got more and more out of hand as it kept moving forward. So Bert was the. I remember Bert told Phil. He said, "Phil, you want to be the hero and the villain at the same time." He said, "All this thing you doing is gonna catch up to you." He said, "32. I wanted at 40, buddy." He said, "All this stuff you doing is gonna catch up to you, Phil. All this dirty old man behavior of yours, that stuff gonna catch up to you." So Phil left after the end of the NBA season, right? Wrote a book about Kobe Bryant, talked about how incredible it was not to coach him and how uncoachable he was. Made Kobe sound bad. The whole thing was made so that Kobe would be bad. Who said anything about 80? I know I didn't. Now, with all that being said, Phil was having freaky time with Jenny Buss all the time. Phil wanted to be general manager and run the Los Angeles Lakers. Her brother said, "Over my dead body." So that was out of the equation. Phil is brought back to coach one last time with the Lakers. Dr. Buss brings Phil back. Said, "Phil, I need you to come back." Gives Phil a lion's share amount of money to come back to coach Kobe Bryant again. Phil is back coaching one more time. The team is bad. Shaq is gone. Kobe is who he has to deal with. They done ran off two coaches. Rudy T had to retire for health reasons. It's like Mike Brown came and went. This is Kobe. And you're going to have to understand, you the only one that can understand and coach this man. came back. They had a meeting. They talked about the book, and he apologized to Kobe for the book. Kobe didn't care. He was glad Phil was back. He ready to win the championship. That was the only thing on his mind was let's get to the championship. Phil comes back. The team is awful. It is god awful. And the promises that they were gonna try to go for a championship was the case. Didn't happen. And it became a difficult situation of controlling Kobe Bryant. Getting Kobe to open up to the idea, and he was destroying, breaking players down in practice, trying to build them up. And Phil had Michael Jordan contact Kobe Bryant. It was Michael Jordan who helped make that bridge between Kobe and Phil. Because after that playoff game, when Kobe was going off the whole season, the reason why Kobe was going off and scoring all those points that season and was just on a tear in the NBA, the year he should have gotten MVP, is because of his beef with Phil Jackson. Phil said, okay, Cole, like he told him, he says, look, we're not going to win a championship this year. This team is not equipped to win an NBA championship. We don't have all the pieces yet. So if you want to go out there and break your neck trying to win an NBA championship by yourself and go on those spurts, then I'm not going to hold you back. Do what you want to do. Go out there, play, call the plays you want to call. And if you want to call your number every time, I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to just let you go. Go be the Kobe Bryant you want to be and see if it's going to lead to success. If you need that to figure out that we got to strengthen these other guys up, we got to get them there. If you want to do it your way, let's try your way. Kobe Bryant scored 254 points in 4 games. 4 games he scored 50. 1 game he scored 63. Kobe Bryant went off immediately. And destroyed the league. Then Phil looked like a genius and took credit for it. Well, I just said, hey, just unleash Kobe Bryant on the world. I always knew he had this talent. We were just trying to keep it all conserved. And now you're seeing the full Kobe Bryant, and he took all credit, as Phil does. So Phil Jackson is not a great head coach. Okay, he would never be. And that's why the other coaches don't really respect him like that. And the reason why they don't is because not because they hate Phil. It's just like you had a seasoned Michael Jordan in the Bulls. They were on the cusp of a championship when you got there. Then you had Kobe and Shaq, which was difficult, but nobody in the league could stop that team if they just played together. They had all the weapons. So he never really got the credit for anything. Those last 2 championships, he felt I got credit. So then he goes to the Knicks. Finally got the job. They gave him a boatload of money. Phil couldn't say no because he wanted to be a general manager. And he couldn't run the Lakers. His brother would never allow it. So he ended up having to break up with Jenny Buss to go to New York because he couldn't turn that down. He wanted to be a general manager and build a team. It's not his strong suit. So then he brings Derek Fisher and makes Derek Fisher the head coach because Derek Fisher is just like him. Derek Fisher knows all the plays he's gonna follow, so basically Phil's gonna be coaching from up top. These kids refuse to go in the house. They out here with umbrellas. So Derek Fisher comes in there, and guess what? Derek's a womanizer. What a coincidence that another womanizer recognizes another womanizer, and they both in there screwing up the doggone Knicks, trying to get Carmelo Anthony in the Knicks to play the triangle offense and taking Melo out of the post. It got so bad. Michael Jordan called. Michael Jordan called up Phil Jackson to talk to him about Carmelo Anthony. Because Mike, Melo called Mike like Mike. And he was like, man, Kobe went through the same thing with him. That's a hell of a thing to say to somebody. Out of all the people I coach, I don't like your game. I like your game the least. Didn't like the way Melo played. Couldn't stand it. That wouldn't surprise me. That's Derek Longstroke Fisher you talking about. So anyway, that's Phil, man. He is a fraud, to say the least. Phil Jackson is a fraud, man. And damn Zen master, all that yoga, it's all a facade, man. It is all a facade. He's a dirty old man. And that's it. I'm serious. That's really the gist of what Phil Jackson is. He's a dirty old man. And now Phil Jackson's become this dirty old man who thinks he's the good guy. So anyway, I'm going to hit you back and we'll holler later.